What if I told you that your clothes were influencing how you think? There's a reason why we have such a high significant attachment to clothing. Clothes carry a very significant meaning for us. It influences how we think, and it influences how we see ourselves and how we see others in the world. And clothes cognition is a study or a concept that suggests that clothing can influence cognitive processes, and that what we wear impacts how we behave, how we think, how we feel, and ultimately how we look at the world. It shows how clothes, in a subtle way, are altering how we think and how those clothing choices influence our minds. You are more likely to embody the meaning associated with the choices that you make in clothing. Like, for instance, if you wear something formal, you are more likely to embody the professional aura that comes with the garments. And if you wear something casual, you are more likely to embody a more relaxed and casual aura. And this is how clothes in most cases influences us and how we show up at the world, and ultimately how we are perceived. It is a bit of a subversion when you see someone in a sports field wearing a formal dress. Somehow your brain doesn't know how to interpret that situation. It takes a bit of a while for it to settle on the thought or where exactly to place you, to take you seriously as a sportsman person or somebody that just happened to be on the field that day. But if someone is into sports and they go into sportswear and they are in the field and they are playing sports, somehow your brain can reconcile with that. And this is what happens to us most of the time when other people perceive us and how we perceive them in general. Immediately when you see somebody in the uniform, your brain just somehow associates that with a sense of authority, a sense of high moral standing.
Your suit is fitted desert fashion. Who told you how to do that?
You are more likely to respect somebody in the uniform than you are in somebody in a hoodie and loose pants and sneakers. You are more likely to place them, not respect as per se, because we do most of the time respect everyone else that we come across in the world, but you are more likely to place a sense of higher authority to someone dressed like that as opposed to someone who is wearing less formal clothes, which wouldn't be associated with any kind of a uniform. So in a way, we are most likely to get successful results if we are very sure of how we want to be perceived, or how do we want to perceive ourselves, and continue to make fashion decisions that aligns with that. You are more likely to get success in that sense, to say, hey, this is me and this is how I want to be seen, and this is how I want to see myself, and this is how I want to feel in most cases. So you are more likely to make clothing decisions that align with that, which impacts how you behave and how you think more positively, and then you are more likely to be orientated towards where you're trying to go. Like, for instance, if you want to feel more professional, you would dress more professionally, which will give people a sense of power, a sense of ambition, and you would dress in ways that aligns with those goals and aligns with those beliefs, or aligns with where you are trying to be at that particular time and moment. And you somehow influence your brain to be more aligned with how you are dressing, and so therefore it can yield such amazing, tremendous results. Whereas if you don't dress well, not well per se, but if you don't dress towards what you are more trying to get aligned with, you can somehow not embody that role. You can somehow get lost a bit in there and not know exactly where to place yourself. And this is one of the roles that clothes are playing in terms of influencing how we think.
Your suit is fitted desert fashion. Who told you how to do that?
So it is very important, because even if you are not aware of it, somewhere, somehow, subconsciously, your brain is taking notes, and it's kind of aligning you to how you seem to be showing up for yourself and showing up in the world, and the choices in clothing that you choose to make. Another way that somehow fashion and clothing seem to influence our cognitive processes is through size inflation and vanity sizing.
Brands came in and found out that if you're a size 8, but they tell you you're a size 6, you're much more likely to buy. That was actually the beginning of vanity sizing in fashion.
A lot of brands tend to do this because, of course, they need money, and that's the number one motivator behind it, but it tends to affect the customer in a very wrong way, and in a way that is not good for them, and it impacts them negatively. And while vanity pricing tends to inflate the customer's ego to get them to buy more, influencing their buying decisions, and size inflation tends to do completely the opposite, because it is a practice where the measurements of the body are presented to be way less than they actually are. And so the customer might end up getting into a certain garment that is their size, but only to find out that the size this doesn't seem to fit this time. So it leaves them thinking, have I gone up a size? Have I gained weight? What is wrong? And they end up being confused. And all of these things can somehow find a way to affect your self-esteem. Because if in vanity sizing, in one brand you wear size 20, only to find out that in another brand you wear size 24, and in another brand you wear size 14, and the other one you wear size 12, you're gonna end up being confused about the perception of how you look and who you are and your self-perception in general. And so these are the bad practices that are adopted by all these brands, which are not good. The impact that they have on us psychologically tends to be very detrimental, because it affects our self-esteem, it affects our self-worth, and how we see each other at the end of the day. And standardized sizing is not something that is based on reality, because it is based on the similarities that the body have, and most of us on this planet have very different bodies. We can be in the same size but still have very different bodies. And before, people never used to have sizes. You would go into an atelier, they would measure everything on your body and make garments according to that. But because the fashion industry wanted to make it simpler in terms of production, we somehow ended up with things like standardized sizing, which came with different sizes that have a bunch of different meanings, because most people understand that it's not just about the size. Most people, whenever they go to the store, they are preferably hoping that they are a smaller size, because it is in a way an indicator of what you look like, or your appearance, or your attraction in the attraction hierarchy. And so while you enter the store with high confidence, you might come out there with not such a high confidence anymore, because something that you worn seems to be small, while you the size that you picked and know that you wear seems to be small this time, while you knew that you picked up something with the same size. It seemed to fit perfectly. And so you start asking yourself questions like, am I gaining weight? Is there something wrong with me? What is going on? And that can be very detrimental to the body. And this is one of the ways that size inflation really has an impact on our thinking and how we think. Vanity sizing plays with the customer's ego to influence their buying decisions. Size inflation can have opposite results because the dimensions of the body are smaller than the size. They leave the customer feeling like they have gone up a size, and it affects many people's moods and self-esteem because many of us love seeing ourselves in a smaller size. Brands do this to ensure that the garments have perfect fit, and these things tend to impact our mood in a negative and unhealthy way, causing anxiety and negative self-perception. Alright, another way that clothes tend to affect how we think, our behaviors, and affect us psychologically in general is through the changes in style and in fashion. Like, for instance, in the 90s, we had heroin chic, which was more flattering to women that were very thin and very tall and very skinny. It wasn't the clothes that we would say that would fit everybody, because at the time we still had petite, we still have chubbier women who wouldn't exactly fit into the 90s heroin chic look. And now we could say that clothing like Instagram model type of clothing is not the kind of clothing that fits everybody. Everybody has it's not like everybody has a body where they have a huge bum and a very small waist. Some people are boxy, some people are hourglass, some people are apple shaped, and we never really consider those things. And most of the time when we commercialize a certain look and it's the one that is dominating the zeitgeist of the time, other women with different body shapes tend to be neglected, and we never talk about them. And these are the women that spend most of that time trying to fit into that trend, like what we were seeing when people went for bum enhancements and hip enhancements and all of those things, the BBLs and all of them, is because it's constantly women trying to fit into the aesthetic of the time, the aesthetic that is dominating the zeitgeist of that current times. And it is never good for our mental health, and we end up seeing ourselves in a way that is not in a good light because we are failing to fit into this current aesthetic that is running. And most of the time you cannot look like for instance Kim Kardashian. You cannot look like your models at the times in the 90s who seem to be tall and skinny. We can only hope that we are not placed in situations where we feel we need to change our bodies and we have some sort of dissatisfaction with our bodies and shape and appearance, and then it's affected by fashion in some way or how. And the representation of fashion in either all the social media platforms or in the media in general, because most of the time we see all these skinny models wearing these skinny well-cut clothes, and we ask ourselves if we can even wear something like that or even pull off something like that. So fashion in that sense has a very, very direct way of influencing how we think, and psychologically it affects us, and we end up having these negative perspectives about who we are and trying to fit into the standards of the time. And it all has to do with the kind of clothing that we find that is available or sensationalized or commercialized at the time, clothes that seems to be trending at the time. If you are on TikTok and you cannot seem to fit a certain trend or how people are dressing at that particular time, you seem to be out of place and you don't know where to be, and you seem as if you don't belong in the world. There are different types of dressing styles, like golf, you have normcore, you have cottage cores, and most of these cores, they tend to be not accommodating to certain types of demographics, especially when it comes to the trending subcultures at the time. So we are to be very careful on how much of that we let influences our brains. And the best way that you can do is have positive self-perception and outlook in terms of how we look at our appearance and how we criticize our appearance. And it's also very important to understand that fashion trends come and go, and your body cannot adapt to all of them. And so you're going to be in a trend that if maybe you have a little bit of pouch, the current trend at the time is low-rise pants, low-rise skirts, and it's very important to understand that you cannot fit in all of them, in all of these trends and all of these different cuts. And sometimes it's crop tops and you don't feel particularly comfortable with showing off your belly, and sometimes it's long clothes and you feel like you are short, so therefore you look like your clothes are swallowing you. So we have to be very mindful that our clothes cannot fit every aesthetic, and trends come and go, and we cannot fit in all of those trends. And yes, this brings us to the last ways that fashion affects us psychologically and affects how we think. And this one is called the psychology of fashion in general. This would encapsulate a lot of things that I had been talking about since the beginning of the video. So please, let's take a moment, and if you really like to tell us more about how clothes are affecting you psychologically and how clothes have kind of affected you on your daily basis, please take time to leave the comment in your comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Let me know your journey with clothing and how it has affected you over the years, ever since you became self-aware and you became very aware of fashion and how to engage with it and how it ultimately affects how other people perceive you. So tell us your adventures with fashion. Tell us what your experience has been in terms of engaging with fashion in general and how it has influenced you to a certain degree. Please also take time to like and subscribe if you do like the topics that I talk about, and if they do help you in one or more ways, or you would like them to help you but they are not. But yes, I'm open to suggestions. Anything that you would have to talk about, I would love to hear it in the comment section. So let's move on to the to the final way that fashion affects us. So fashion affects us psychologically in general, right? And the next topic is going to be about the psychology of fashion. So there is a reason why we choose to wear what we wear on a daily basis, right? It's either that thing evokes certain emotions or give us a sense of belonging, or simply boost our moods, and all the other many reasons why we choose to wear what we wear. Well-fitting clothes can enhance our mood and helping us narrate our stories and telling people who we are, and hopefully having successful translations of who we want to be.
It was Dad. I swear, dressed like a homeless man.
Well-fitting clothes can enhance our mood by fostering our confidence and increasing how the value in which other people see in us, and what kind of value do we see in ourselves. It gives us this perception that we are investing more into ourselves, so that is very important. You are more likely to feel confident if you feel comfortable with what you are wearing, more powerful if you dress in a way that tells people that you are somebody that wants to take yourself more seriously, and you take care of yourself, and you perceive yourself to be more professional.
She could be a farmer in those clothes.
Clothes that creates more shape, that is more aware of our body. It helps us not see the self-conscious parts of our body that we are constantly fixating on, and this alleviates stress that comes with body image issues. Some clothes speak for you when you have no way or no strength of expressing yourself. They tell your story, they tell people who you are, and it gives you the strength to stand out when you need to. This is the reason why we have things like the psychology of the black dress. The black dress carries significant psychological weight, and it symbolizes power, sophistication, and confidence, most often projecting an image of authority and professionalism. And so if someone were to wear a black dress, they come across as powerful and sophisticated, and sometimes you don't feel that way, but the garment that you're wearing suggests that you feel that way. So in time, if you wear this during the course of the day, you will start to gravitate towards more on how this dress, on the energy that this dress is giving you, as opposed to how you initially started the day, where maybe you might have not been so confident and felt so sophisticated, depending on what you might have been going through at that current time. And so we also have the way in clothes uplift you if you are not feeling so confident on that particular day. We also have something like the psychology of the black suit, and the black suit psychology is composite. It is a garment that symbolizes power, authority, and competence and sophistication. It also conveys professionalism and intimidation. And all of these things can speak for you when you don't know how to speak for yourself. Sometimes they speak for you when you know how to speak for yourself, and this is what you want to put out there in the world, and this is the message that you want to convey into the world. And we also have the psychology of loungewear, which the psychology of it depends so much on how it is made and the fabric composition of the garments themselves, and the loose fits that triggers the relaxation response, and it signals to the body that you're safe. So it reduces stresses, and it also lowers the stress hormones like cortisol, and then it supports mental well-being. So this is a way that clothes are affecting us in general, and it depends on how you wear them, because we can all wear clown suits, right? And depending on different clown suits that we're wearing, depending on how we are wearing them, it can tell a very different story. So clothes are kind of like a language. Sometimes you find a person still wearing a clown suit, but in a much more hippier vibe and aura, and you find someone wearing a same clown costume, but theirs looks more dark, more gothic, and then it gives you this dark aura about it. And the other one just gives you a playful version of what a clown is. So even these clothes, depending on how you wear them, depending on how you alter them, a black suit can very much have a different vibe in terms of how you're wearing it. So all these clothes whether it's a black suit, whether it's a black dress, whether it's a red dress, it depends on how you're wearing it and what the cut on that particular garment looks like. Somehow, somewhere, I'm going to talk about how different cuts of the body gives you a certain different aura, and how to use those aura in order to work for you on a daily basis. So the takeaway, we have reached the takeaway, ladies and gentlemen, and the takeaway from this video is that use clothes in a way that works for you. Be aware that clothing in general does somehow affect your psychology, and I just spoken about how loungewear somehow, because of the fabric composition that it tends to have, the kind of cut that it tends to have, it tends to take away from signals that triggers you. So therefore it lowers your cortisol, and then it releases feel good hormones, because you don't have stress and you don't feel like you are in danger. You somehow feel safe. So if you are somebody that wants to have that sort of a aura or a feel about you, or you want to have that to be your general self-perception, you most likely have to invest in clothing like that. If you want to be somebody that wants to perform a certain way, when we talk about clothes cognition, then you apply that rule and you dress in how you want to feel. Like, let's say maybe you wake up and then you feel like you're a slob. You are basically all over the place. If you wear a suit on that particular day, you're gonna feel more put together, and so therefore you'll start showing up as a person who's more put together. So it's very much important to be aware of where you want to be, where you want to align your future to, and start picking clothes that actually aligns with that future, that aligns with that sort of trajectory that you want to go into. So pick clothes wisely. If you want to be somebody that appears to be more relaxed, more artistic, you would make clothing choices that align towards that role in a character, or that type of archetype that you want to show up as. So I hope this helps in a way, and if it does, please leave me a comment in the comment section, and please subscribe, and please leave me a like. It helps me a lot in terms of pushing this video out and having more people to be exposed to it, and hopefully the topics that I talk about can be more engaging, so that they can help you, they can help me as well to learn more. My name is Pusada Zilo. I am a fashion designer. So I hope we keep on continuing this journey, and please drink some water, take care of yourself, and read something. That's my message for the week today. Until then, adios amigos.